moving into a different style of vintage, and I think a little bit more of a. I mean, these first four wines are very beautiful. They're very different, but you could also drink these now if you wanted. The 21s you might want to put aside for a couple years. But Akiko Freeman, we're delighted to have you join us. Tell us about your wine. This vintage, we're going to taste 3 2021s, and then we're going to taste some Chardonnays. But welcome, and tell us about your wine.
Thank you very much. So the next wine is Freeman's Yuki Estate Vineyard Pinot Noir from Occidental. And we purchased 50 acres of redwood forest in 2007. And I was on a business trip, and my husband called me in the middle of it, and like, guess what we just bought? And I'm like, what did you buy? And this 50 acres were owned by a family, the Italian family, who owned a lot of acreage in Occidental area, and they wanted to just purge some of the part, and 18 acres in the middle of this redwood forest was cleared in 1860s to farm sheep. So sheep were used to be roaming around, and since it was cleared, we didn't have to cut any trees and be able to plant vineyards there. And it's east-facing, and we planted about 14 acres of mostly Pinot Noir, a little bit of Chardonnay, and it's sit right by the San Andreas Fault, where American plate and Pacific plate crashed and created a high hills. So we have a lot of different soil types in this vineyard, and we planted 8 different Pinot Noir clones. However, we had to change the rootstock quite a bit. Like some parts are clay, some parts are sandy, so we had to tweak that. And it is east-facing and in a steep hill. The steepest part of that is about 25% slope. And our interns at harvest time just hate to go sample grapes there because it's up and down, quite a bit of workout to just collect grape samples. But 2021 was the first year in 4 years of like a problematic, like a fires and smoke problem. And this was just a beautiful smoke-free vintage, no headaches, and we didn't have a heat spike, so it was a beautiful vintage. And the wine came out beautifully, but it took forever to open up. So like right now it's slightly start opening. I think it's gonna be better in few years still, have a long life. But since this vineyard is only 3.5 miles from Pacific Ocean, it's quite cold site. And one year we had another winemaker who wanted to buy this grapes from this vineyard, and I told her, let's meet at 11 a.m. so the fog will be lifted. And she's like, oh, I can only come at 9 a.m. And I go, well, it's gonna be pretty foggy and you may not see too well, but if you have to be, let's meet at 9. So I was waiting for her there, and she came up, and it was a white out. You can't see anything, like can't even see like 2 feet ahead of you. So I'm like, you may not believe this, but we have a vineyard here. So it will be much better at 11, but that kind of vineyards. And as I was saying, it's on a steep hill. So the top part is about 1,000 feet from the sea level, and it slopes down. So it gives us a nice break between top to down. Like we harvest about 4 times this vineyard and give us a little break in between. So it's quite nice. This 21 vintage, it has a beautiful, like fine tannins and good acidity, and most savory wines we make at Freeman. And it's have like a, probably from the redwood forest around it. It has like a kind of pine needle or roasted tea flavors. And like a beautiful darker fruit. And we did not use any whole cluster for this because we get enough tannin from the skin. Like berries are tiny, so it gives a nice tannin and flavors from that. And it always have a really nice umami to that. And whenever I'm cooking Japanese food at home, this is my go-to wine to pair with like a soy sauce, and it's nice umami factors.
You're making us all very hungry.
Yes. So we try to do the best in the vineyards. We farm organically, and we try not to do too much in our cellars. So once we get the fruit in, we try not to manipulate too much. So it's a spontaneous fermentation, like grape do its own thing, and we just help them not to go the other way, like come this way, be a good wine. And it's about 25% new oak. We use all French, but 25% is new, and rest is 1 year old or neutral. So we don't try not to over oak this beautiful fruit. And please enjoy that. Thank you.
Thank you, Akiko. I think this is a really